Another week, another disappointing result for Chelsea Football Club, unable to beat an underwhelming Everton side and looking shambolic in the process. So, what happened in this game and why? Let's dive in. Lads, lasses and the rest of the masses, welcome back to the channel. I'm Mono from Mono CFC and this is my post-match tactical breakdown for Chelsea versus Everton. I think a lot of the issues we are going through stem far deeper than just tactics, but I want to discuss Mauricio Pochettino and how/why he's not doing well with a team that by all accounts should be achieving much more than they are. So this breakdown is going to be less about the match as a whole and more about Chelsea. I'm not going to touch on Everton too much in this one, as I think the majority of issues were our own mishaps rather than Everton being, quote, the better team. I don't think this was a case of Dyche outfoxing Poch, but more so Poch being seemingly incompetent and unable to set this team up in any meaningful way. So let's look at how Chelsea was set up. Once again we deployed this 4-2-3-1 system, a standard back four, inverted wingers and a lone striker, two holding midfielders and an advanced attacking midfielder. Seems great, a pretty common and successful formation in the modern game, so what's the issue? Well, it all comes down to personnel, and most importantly, who is playing in this advanced midfield role. Instead of playing Caicedo and Enzo in the deeper roles like usual, Poch opted to play Conor Gallagher alongside Caicedo, and had Enzo out of the pivot. This is mistake number one with this setup, and in my mind shows that Pochettino is clueless when it comes to profiling players. Enzo is not an attacking mid, he has never been an attacking mid. Gallagher is not a pivot player, he has never been a pivot player. To an extent, Caicedo isn't a 6 either, well at least not in the way Poch is playing him, and he's being put here as the anchor for the majority of the time too. Our midfield is arguably our strongest point, but that strength is lost completely when all three of the players in that midfield are playing out of position. Admittedly, this isn't helped by Lavia, as well as Chukwuemeka, being injured, because he'd arguably play as that anchor and allow others to play in their positions, but I still feel as if Poch could be doing better here. We have not seen a midfield trio of Ugochukwu, Enzo and Caicedo once, and though I feel as if Leslie isn't a like-for-like with Lavia, I think it's worth it if he gets Caicedo and Enzo playing in their best positions, at least to try, because nothing else seems to be working. Further up the pitch, let's look at other issues that I believe are hindering this team. As I mentioned, we play with inverted wingers, meaning that we have a right-footed player on the left and a left-footed player on the right. This is my preferred way of deploying wingers, as it gives us two options to attack when the fullbacks get high up the pitch, and makes us less predictable. We can utilise the overlap to threaten down the wings, or cut inside with the wingers to threaten in the centre. The issue is, we aren't doing this at all. Our wingers are staying wide, our fullbacks are staying back, and there's no support centrally when those wingers get the ball. There is a massive gap that appears in the centre when we have possession, as our midfielders also go out to the wide areas. At times we see Gallagher and even more shockingly Enzo playing on the wing in a completely ridiculous and bizarre position. Here's an example. We are attacking on the transition, and instead of having Enzo centrally here to play a killer final ball, where is he? Over here on the left wing, completely out of the play. And while yes, I suppose he's taking a defender away, but is he really? No defender is worried about a slow creative passer in this position on his weaker foot, so they just ignore him and defend the centre instead. I think we largely played well in this game, which is shocking to hear, I know, but the issue once again comes down to finishing and creating clear chances. I highlighted this in my low block video a few weeks ago, which you can watch by clicking the card in the top right hand corner or the link in the description for those of you on mobile. But we create a lot of chances and don't finish them, and part of that is down to poor forwards, and part of that is down to the chances being half chances at best. In this game we had 16 total shots, double that of Everton's, but expected goals are far lower, and the amount of shots off target / blocked is far too high to be scoring goals. I will point out that I think Armando Broja had a quite awful game in comparison to his teammates, and it just shows that we are missing an elite forward, but more importantly, a forward whose profile fits the team. I think we would benefit largely from a centre forward that is a target man, able to get on the end of things, able to hold the ball up, and able to bring his teammates into the game with short link-up plays, like Olivier Giroud used to do for Chelsea. Both of our forwards are channel runners, and don't really suit the way this team plays in truth. If we can't get one of these, then the other solution is fixing what I believe is our main deficiency. We don't get enough players into the box. I felt so sorry for Mykhailo Mudryk, who once again was by far our best player in this one, because he created so many chances, provided loads of cutbacks, and all of them went to waste because we didn't have enough bodies in the box to pick out. Again, this goes back to the midfield issue. Gallagher should be getting into the box to support the striker, the opposite winger should be getting into the box, hell, even a fullback should be at the back post, like Marcos Alonso used to do for us. Too many of our players want to play outside the area, and it's hindering us massively. Both of our last 2 games are prime examples of this. We were undone by midfielders who got up the pitch into the box, McTominay and Doucouré. And the thing that is frustrating about this is that in pre-season we were doing this. In Poch's 3-2-5 setup we were massively committing bodies forward, and that's how we were able to play so well. I think Poch is incredibly wrong for abandoning that system because of a fear of conceding possession/transitional opportunities, and it's killing us. Conor Gallagher was one of the best in his position at doing this exact thing at Crystal Palace, and now he's playing in the pivot, unable to get anywhere near the final third. It just doesn't make sense to me why Poch is doing this. I think he's totally out of his depth, and though other things off the field hasn't been favourable to him, there is absolutely no excuse for us being in 12th position with the quality that this team has. If it weren't for goal difference and Everton's point reduction, we'd be 15th. That is not the standard of this club. Bournemouth are in the exact same position as us, new manager, totally new squad, and yet they have won 13 points out of 15 in their last 5 matches. The fact that we as an institution, as large as we are, can't do the same and or better is quite frankly disgusting, and a lot of the blame has to fall on Pochettino for his lacklustre tactics, naivety and his poor in-game management. I've commented on the mid-match adjustments in the past, but one that keeps happening I want to point out especially. Why does he insist on playing Doucouré at right back when he's left-footed? We have perfectly capable right-footed players that can play there, and Cuckoo being on the wrong side seriously limits his capabilities as he is never in a position to use his natural foot. It's minor things like that which keep happening, and it's incredibly frustrating to see from a coach that we all thought at least was a good enough tactician to get us into the top 4. The first half was largely average from both teams, neither able to really get a foothold, but the second half became more open, and that's where we saw the first goal go in, so let's talk about the second half. But real quick, if you're enjoying the content and want to see more, please consider subscribing to the channel. Cheers. So let's talk about the second half, shall we? So the first goal of this game comes from a transition. We actually play a neat bit of football with Palmer and Mudryk, but when the ball is played to Brozier, he is sleeping, like he was for most of the game, and he just lets the ball go past him and back into Everton's possession. Mykolenko plays the ball long into space that has been vacated by Cucurella on the right flank, who admittedly was getting up the pitch to support the attack, so no qualms there, and it's picked up by Dwight McNeil. He easily skips past Gallagher, who again probably should have taken the yellow here, but hindsight is 2020 and he likely didn't want to risk getting suspended again, and surges towards goal. He plays an excellently timed ball through to Calvert-Lewin, whose effort on goal is smartly saved by Robert Sanchez. The ball however bounces out to who else but Doucouré. Levi Colwill doesn't put him under any pressure whatsoever, so the Mali international smashes the ball into the net uncontested for 1-0. And as soon as this happened, we knew we were losing this game. There was absolutely no way that we were going to score despite the 40-ish minutes the game had left to play. However, we did see a change in urgency from Chelsea following this goal. We played a lot faster, created more opportunities, put more players into the box and threatened a little bit more. And it begs the question, why can't we play like this from the beginning and put the pressure on Everton early? I don't understand it in truth. All of that extra effort went to no use though, because Everton defended well and stopped us from scoring, and just when we thought it couldn't get any worse, they made the scoreline even more embarrassing in the final stages of the game. Everton get a corner and it's swung in by Garner on top of substitute George Petrovic, who punches the ball clear but admittedly still into a dangerous area. Once again our players don't get out to the Everton player quick enough, and Charity FC strikes again as Lewis Dobbin scores his first ever goal by lashing in an effort from just in front of the D. This stoppage time goal seals all 3 points for the Toffees and compounds the misery that all of us Chelsea fans have been feeling. I don't usually do this, but I'm going to touch on some comments made from Pochettino in the aftermath of this game. He said that he feels the team is, quote, lacking height in midfield, and that we need more signings in January to compete. Whilst I agree with the latter statement, I do think there are acquisitions to be made. I think this just shows how clueless he is, pinning our issues on trivial things like height and asking for more signings rather than addressing the actual tactical issues in this team. For the record, Everton have the highest amount of aerial duels won in the league, so we were never going to contest them in the air. And Chelsea on average have the third tallest midfield in the league at 183.3 recurring centimetres. Shout out to Dimitri on Twitter for this data by the way, their @ is on screen now. And if Poch is so worried about height in midfield, then why is he not playing Leslie Ugachukwu, who's 6'3"? Whilst it's true that we suffer from set pieces and high balls into the box, this has nothing to do with the height of the team and more so on the positioning of players. This is a coachable problem, and he's simply not coaching them well enough to defend these types of opportunities. I think he's deflecting massively and is scrambling to find something to blame because deep down he has no idea how to fix things and knows that his job is hanging in the balance at the moment. It's been reported that the higher-ups are seeing a defeat against Sheffield and Newcastle in the Cup as a breaking point, and I couldn't agree more. If he can't get all 3 points against bottom place Sheffield United, then he simply isn't capable enough to be Chelsea manager. It's pretty obvious that we'd be knocked out by Newcastle if we couldn't beat Sheffield too, so I'd cut our losses before then and get an interim lined up early. I'm super upset to say all this too because I had so much faith in Poch at the start of the season, but he's completely abandoned all the things I liked about his system and seems too stubborn/uninformed to change things. I think this Everton game showcased that too, with him going back to the nonsensical decision to play Connor as a defensive mid and Enzo as an attacking mid, but until the Sheffield game we'll just have to wait and see if things can improve from this 2-0 embarrassment we just went through. That was the story of this game really. Chelsea can look forward to Sheffield United in the Premier League on Saturday in what will be an absolute must-win game. The match preview for that will likely be out on Friday evening around 7 PM the day before the game, so keep an eye out for that one. And finally, before the end of the video, it's time for the question of the day. As always, I'm going to highlight some of the comments from the last video, so here are a few responses to the last question of the day. Thanks guys for your continued support as ever. If you want your comment to be featured in the next video, leave your answer to this video's question of the day down below with QOTD at the start. So for this week's question of the day, we'll go for a tricky one. What do you think is the first thing we should do to fix Chelsea's problems, and why? But that was just my tactical breakdown for this match. Thank you ever so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on this match in the comment section below, and if you'd be so kind, subscribe to the channel and leave the video a like if you enjoyed. Don't forget to tap the notification bell so you never miss a video from me, or check out some of the other videos on the channel on screen right now. I've been Mono from Mono CFC, and remember, in the rain or in the dry, keep that blue flag flying high. Come on you Blues.